Nice to meet you. I'm Ariana.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Jaylon.
So, how did you get into musical theater?
Oh my gosh, I if this earring doesn't work, I'm so sorry. So whenever I started musical theater, I want to say I started doing theater in like middle school. And I did like the first show I ever did was The Outsiders. And I did it for like a one act play. It was super cool. And then after that, when I went to high school, I switched high schools to a public school. And then after that, then I was involved in like band and stuff like that. And then I also did a Midsummer Night's Dream, like a Shakespeare, and I was in theater, and I had always sang at church, but I also just like I guess like separated the two, like singing and acting, and then I realized that you could do them together, and then it was never really like the path that I was like I guess expecting to go on. I was always thought I was going to be a writer because I write a lot of poetry. So I always like thought that I was going to end up being a writer, but I feel like this like fits me a lot. And yeah, that's how I got into it. I did like shows all throughout like high school, and then after that I attempted to go to college twice. I went to college and then I dropped out because I didn't have money, and then I switched to a different college and then dropped out again because I didn't have money. And then I end up realizing that you don't need a degree to sing and dance. So you just have to have people who believe in you, and you can find training in other ways. So for anybody who watches this, stay in school if you have the funds. I just did not have the coin to stay in.
Yeah. Yes, I get it. I get it. Oh, well, my major question throughout the entire show, this kind of jumps to the end and then we'll get to the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think Orpheus turns around?
Oh my gosh. Well, have you seen the show?
Yes, I
Okay.
was at Tuesday night, which was a bit of a
Okay.
dramatic show, but
Yeah. Yeah, that was our first ever show stop, but we can talk about that. I think the reason why Orpheus turns around, for one, I think at least um, me as Jaylon, not me as Hermes. Um, and I guess, but in both senses of it, I did a lot, especially to prepare for this role. The stakes are so high, and like I'm just so involved in the story, and guiding the audience and the actors on stage through the story, that I studied the text a lot. I You saw my script during rehearsals. There's so many markings and different things. I think that with me being so like the head of the story, I studied the script a lot. And what I think that the reason why he turns around is that I think that Hades knows he's going to turn around. If you listen to the lyrics of Epic 2 and Epic 3, but specifically of Epic 2, doubt that she'll never come, dread that she'll never come, doubt that his lover will ever come back. That translates into his Kiss the Riot, in which Hades says doubt comes in. Hades knows that Orpheus is going to turn around because it's the same doubt that Hades feels every single time that Persephone leaves him. The doubt that she'll never come, dread that she'll never come back. Every single time that Persephone leaves, Hades is wondering, is she gonna come back? And that is the doubt that essentially he places onto Orpheus and saying, I've been going through this for centuries and centuries and years. Let's see if you can pass this test once. So I feel like he kind of knows. Um, that Orpheus may or may not be able to do it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Think your Eurydice would have turned around?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. And the only reason why is not because she doesn't love Orpheus as much as Orpheus loves her, but I think that she is a little bit more headstrong than Orpheus is. And I think that like she's been through a lot more in her lifetime than Orpheus has been through, which is like I say things like, but she's seen how the world was. You already see was a hungry young girl, but she's seen how the world was, as opposed to Orpheus sees how the world could be. So Orpheus thinks optimistically, and I think that Eurydice sees reality a little bit more. So because of that, I think that her falling in love with Orpheus doesn't necessarily change who she is at the base, which is like a very realistic person. So I don't think she would have turned around. I think that she would have kept going.
Hmm. Do you think Hermes, when he was explaining this
Mhm.
to Orpheus, was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I know you're going to turn around."
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because girl, when I tell you I'm dropped in, I'm dropped in. And I think that me as Jaylon, even and me as Hermes, both in a weird way, even though I know that the story that we tell the same story every single night, the show is the show.
Hmm.
I still hope that he's not going to turn around. Every single night, I'm shocked when he does it. Like my expression is like genuine, especially because Bryan is so good. Our Orpheus, Bryan Munar, is so good because he really like changes the way he turns around sometimes. Like sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's like reaching. Oh no, I'm gonna turn. Like he really changes it to the point where I'm like, oh wait, is he gonna keep like I really like gaslight myself into thinking I'm like, is he not gonna do it? I think that Hermes genuinely hopes that he doesn't. And I tell the same story every single night in the hopes that it changes. In the very last tacit that I say in Road to Hell 2 before the workers in the ensemble come in is because here's the thing: to know how it ends and still begin to sing it again as if it might turn out this time. It's
Hmm.
just life. It's just like, you keep on doing this. Honestly, like being an actor, you get a million. I have so many, so many, so many no's before you get to yes, and you just try and try again, like, and keep on hoping. It's just like really is like I'm such a message of hope, like for everything, especially in the world that we live in right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
For you, what is it like to do such an intimate show? Because the set doesn't change drastically.
Oh yeah.
It's not like there's this big chorus line. The actors are mostly always on set. What is it like to perform such an intimate show?
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I come from like I get the last two tours, like a little bit of my history is that I was on the Rent tour a couple years ago, and then I was on Jesus Christ Superstar recently. And both of those are pretty big shows. They have, a lot of people on stage, huge sets, like big ensemble. And this one feels so, so intimate and it's so beautiful. And it really does make it feel like you're in like a bar, like you're just like in a New Orleans speakeasy. Um, 13 members make up the entire company. I mean, well, I guess 17 with our swings, but on stage company is 13 people. And it's so special. Every single time that I go out and I do like just looking at like the group of like players that are on stage and like knowing that like it's like a act of consent. Like I'm gonna tell it. Are you gonna tell it? Okay, now to the audience, are we gonna tell? Are you gonna come along for this ride with us? And it's such a beautiful thing, and like just like the small details of it, it's like you said, it's not a huge set, not doesn't drastically change until kind of like Wait for Me, and then you see everything. And but it's so beautiful. If you look at like the chalkboard, there's so many details. The chalkboard that has actual like drink names that refer to the original Orpheus and Eurydice story. One of them is called like Snake Bite, which is like so cute. Like a lot of people don't notice that I have coins on my desk, down my Hermes desk, and they represent all the souls that I've conducted to the underworld as like that represent like the coins that you already see drop. It's just so detailed. So everything is so compact, but it's so beautiful, especially when you're on it. I wish that like we could do like backstage tours all the time so people could see like the small details that we see on stage all the time.
Yes. What is it like to play Hermes? Because he's a character who's a narrator, but is also within the show. So he's an observer and he knows what's going to happen, but he's
Sure.
also an active member. So he's omnipresent, but also realistically there.
Oh my gosh, it's such a weird balance. But and it's such a hard one to master, and it's such a beautiful way to grow as an actor. One of the big things that I struggled with in rehearsals, and we have such an amazing creative team, and our director Keenan Tyler Oliphant. One thing he told me is that there'll be some times where I'll be talking to Orpheus and he's like, okay, right now you're talking to Orpheus as if you're talking to the audience. You have to have like different ways of like speaking to the people on stage versus speaking to a house of 3,000 people. So finding that balance, knowing like when to check in with certain audience members, and also when to check in with the people on stage, it's a shift, you know what I mean? And it's not something that I feel like I've fully mastered. I feel like I grow every single night, in finding different moments. But it's a struggle for sure. And it's not easy, especially like you said, because you do know what happens within the story, but you have to find the balance of not giving it away to the people on stage as much as you are, giving a lot of exposition to the people who are in the audience.
Yes. What's your favorite song, whether you're singing it or it's not your song? What's your favorite song from the musical?
That's so hard. Can I give you two?
Yeah.
Okay. I have two, and they're both sung by the Fates. And the Fates, our Fates are just incredible. You saw two of the Fates that you saw on Tuesday were actually understudies, and they're just as
Oh,
equally as
wow.
but our Fates, oh my god, they are just such incredible performers. Like, I feel like I learn things from them every night. The first one is Any Way the Wind Blows. And I think that that's my favorite one just because it gives so much exposition to who Orpheus and Eurydice are. I feel like in the beginning of the show, you get exposition on every single person in the show, in Road to Hell, but you don't really get a lot of that from Orpheus and Eurydice. You know that he's working on a song, you know that Eurydice is like tough, has a rough exterior, but it explains why they are the way that they are. And I love that because I think that they're such complex and beautiful characters. And I love that the Fates are involved in that as well because the Fates are just like, you know, what goes on in our mind. It really introduces the Fates as well as like these presences of like our inner thoughts. That, and then obviously the bop that is When the Chips Are Down. Oh my gosh, it is just an incredible number. Like it is just like the harmonies are tight, they are dancing down, they are singing their butts off. Like it is just like such an incredible number. They come up with new things. I'm amazed. It takes everything in me not to just like smile at them because they are just so good. So yeah. Also, honorable mention Road to Hell reprise at the very, very end. I love just speaking to the audience with conviction and really looking at people and being like, hear what I'm saying. Like, that it's such a beautiful moment every night. Yeah.
Yes. I have a theory, and I could be wrong, but because I also was just thrown off guard when he turned around, so maybe I just was seeing everything differently. But
Let me ask you a question really quick. Was this your, or did you go in blind? Was this your first time ever seeing it?
yeah, I went in blind
Oh my
completely.
gosh. Oh my gosh. I love when people go in blind because then whenever the moment happens, people are always like, oh! Like
Yeah.
they're like it's like
I was like, wait, does it even count? Because you were basically there. And then like I read the Wikipedia after. I was like, oh, he was steps away. Oh yeah, like
yeah,
it was actually like really messed up.
yeah.
But
In the original myth, did you know that he travels 3 years? It's in like in the original myth, he travels 3 years to get to her, and he walks 3 years back with it. Like he walks literally steps before he walked for 3 years, and steps before he turns around. It's crazy, crazy work.
I I really was just like, I'm like, but wait, didn't she call him? Like I was just like, oh, it was just on his head. I was like, oh, but this shouldn't count. But
Uh,
when you're like, oh, we have to tell the story again, and she comes out and it's just like, does anyone have a light? I was like, oh wait, I was just so like surprised by everything. But it seems like when you guys are kind of telling the beginning of the story again, it feels like, is it deja vu, or do they kind of, is there a sense that they do remember knowing each other? Is it kind of like eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, kind of like,
yeah.
are there remnants of remembering each other?
So here's like the what we were directed as, and I think it really works within the context of the show. We enter the show as ourselves. So whenever we come on stage, whenever I do the Ides, until the Ides, we are our own selves. We are not, I'm not Hermes yet. I'm not, these characters are not themselves yet. Whenever I go around and shake the workers' hands, everything like that, everybody's themselves. I'm checking in with the players themselves, not the actors on stage. Once we start the show, we are those characters. At the end, after he turns around, at least for me, from because here's the thing. from that part until the end, that's Jaylon. That's no longer Hermes, and everybody else on stage is just the players and no longer the characters in the story. We've detached from the story, and now we're speaking as us as the players in the story, saying, "Hey, we told this story as a reason. We are actors, but we're giving this gift to you as a message of hope." And that's the reason why she comes out and she's like, "Anybody got a match? Give me that." Like all of that is just like replaying the story as if like even though it doesn't work out this time, maybe it can work out the next time. So we're going to start this back over and tell you to try and try and try again as actors and not no longer, I'm sorry, as players and no longer as like the actors in the story. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. What is it like to do? You do such an intimate show, but there's so many super fans. Like the line for the merch was crazy. So many people were dressed up as the characters, and this was the
Yeah.
first time it was in Detroit. Was it like to have such a huge fan base for the show and then put on the show?
Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Our fans are just absolutely incredible, and they've been so supportive as well. Obviously, our production is a little bit different than the Broadway production and the first national. And I'm not gonna lie that that made a lot of us nervous going into this, just because the turntable is iconic. Like it's one of those things that is like kind of like a staple. So whenever we found out that like okay, we're going to be doing this production a little bit more intimate and without a lot of the automation that they've done, we were a little bit scared because like you said this show has such a cult following to it that people expect to see a certain thing. But they've been nothing but supportive. A lot of people have come and being like, we love the choreography changes, we love this. It honestly drove the story more not having this, even though it obviously still worked. I think that it's such a beautiful show that can be told in such different ways, and it doesn't have to be told the same way every single time. And the fact that we've had so much support from fans and stage drawing and taking pictures with people, we had such a great audience. A great audiences here. One of our big ones was Mexico. Bringing the show to Mexico for the first time was absolutely incredible. We were there for a week, and it was so beautiful to just bring Broadway level, productions to places that usually don't get them. And we've been able to go to a lot of cities and a lot of people, especially with me. I identify as masculine presenting non-binary, and we changed a lot of the lyrics in the show to fit me. So instead of saying "man with feathers on his feet," we say "God with feathers on their feet." I use he/they pronouns, so I don't mind either. But I really wanted to represent my non-binary community through that. So me and Keenan and Rachel all sat down and we changed the lyrics of the show, which was such a beautiful thing. Like for them to like pay homage to me as a person, and we were like, "No, we want you to be you." And I've had so many people come up to me and say, that changed my life. To see somebody who looked like me up there, like who use they, them pronouns, he, they pronouns, like as a non-binary person, it feels like you're opening doors. And every single time I saw the amount of DMs and to like text messages and all kind like, and just like people at the stage door, it makes me tear up every single time because touring is hard, and touring is work, and it is not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. And a lot of us are not doing this for the applause, and a lot of us are not just doing this for the checks. But one thing come to learn is that the important work is hard. It's not going to be easy. So you keep pushing. Yeah.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you have a personal touch with the show as well. Is
Yeah.
there something that you try to do in every city you visit, whether it's like go to a coffee shop or collect a shot glass, anything like that?
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't say there's like something specific that I do. I feel like I end up doing a lot of the same things. Um, I will say there was like a string of cities where I was eating nothing but burgers. And I was trying out like different burger places like all the time. And I feel like that had lasted for like a good 2 weeks. And after that, I kind of like got out of my taste buds. But I wouldn't say there was like anything specific that I do. I feel like I just as like on stage 8 shows a week. I feel like I end up like staying in my room a lot. I do go explore sometimes on days that we have off. I went to explore a little bit yesterday and everything, but I do like just because it's such a crazy schedule is that like I do like really have to take care and like get some vocal rest and everything. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like anything. I do go and sit in parks a lot. I will say I go sit in parks and read. I haven't as much lately just because it's been so cold in some of the places. But I do go and sit in parks and I journal and I read a lot as well. Yeah.
That's nice. I know that you can only take 2 bags. Do you have any essentials that like you have to take other than like a humidifier?
I have a steamer. I have a nebulizer, humidifier. This is gonna come as a shock to everybody because I don't think anybody else on my tour has this, but I bring a portable squatty potty. Um, just because I have one in my home back home, and it's like a small one, but I need it. Me personally, I'm just like I need everything to I yeah. So I have a
Tour food can be a
yeah.
lot.
No, yeah, and sometimes like fast food and everything. I have like portable silverware. I have like a refrigerated bag, that like so I can have a grocery so I'm not always eating out. I think those are like my essentials, other than like
Mhm.
clothes and everything. I'm like looking around my room right now to see. I take like, I work out a lot, so I take like protein powder and creatine powder and pre-workout and stuff like that. I'll probably say those are like my essentials other than clothes that I'm like, I have to have this at all times. And as soon as it starts to get low, I replenish it.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
your earrings, do you only take the single earring or do you have the pair and just take one and then you just wear one?
I wear so this is my personal earring and I like alternate different ones. This is my personal one, but I have like different ones. The cuff that I wear on this side was also technically personally mine, but then I like gifted it to the show. They essentially like bought it from me and told me that if anything happened to it, I'll replace it. But yeah, I keep this one in and I keep the cuff in every night. And then sometimes if I'm feeling frisky, then I have like a kind of like bigger, longer, feathery one that I sometimes wear as well. But all of my like my industrial, this is like mine, my nose rings. I just keep all of them in for the show. They're all silver, so it kind of just works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do pre-show and then post-show to like turn up and then turn down?
Oh, I listen to a lot of Ariana Grande. Me and Bryan and the dress.
Ooh, what's your favorite Ariana Grande album?
Honestly, Eternal Sunshine.
Ooh.
So okay, Eternal Sunshine, but then also Sweetener is really, really good. Listen, I honestly, like I've always loved Ariana Grande, but I've never been like a Ari stan until Wicked. And then I saw Wicked and I was like, oh my gosh. And then because I was listening to Wicked a lot, the soundtrack, a lot of her songs started getting suggested to me just like on Spotify. And I started listening and I've never been like a super pop music person. I'm more like an R&B, soul, folksy, jazz, like indie type of person. And I've really just been into some Ariana Grande recently. So me and Bryan have really been turning up to some Ariana Grande. We also turn up to some Yeba. We just like listen to music and like put music on. Me and Bryan are literally like this, like our Hermes Orpheus relationship on stage is like a complete reflection of what it is off stage. So, I mean, me and him just can sit there and talk and talk and talk for hours. Usually, whenever it gets about 15 of places, we both like shut up and like nebulize and just like sit kind of like quiet, like meditate a little bit. Yeah, I would say I will drink. I drink a lot of water. I wake as soon as I wake up. I wish I had my water bottle with me. As soon as I wake up, I drink like 40 ounces of water. Like I chug a huge water bottle. And after that, I'll take like pre-workout with some water as well. I'll go to the gym. I'll probably drink like another 40 ounces of water. And then after that, I try to drink like Gatorade to replenish my electrolytes. So that I'm not like too just like water heavy. And then after that, I'll get to the show. I'll drink like some liquid IV. Yeah, after that post show, that's like usually like my pre-show. Oh, then obviously I warm up, but I usually warm up like in the shower, like before I go to the theater. Um, I do like a quick like 10-minute warm up. I don't like to be because I'm singing so much. I'm constantly warm. So like most of the time I just try to warm up my high stuff and not as much just 'cause I don't want to overuse my voice. At post show, I warm down. Me and Bryan do like a warm down together every single night. Um, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me go back real quick. I'm sorry. I'm so long winded. I'm a Cancer, so if I ever need to shut up, please tell me.
I'm a Sagittarius, but
Oh
I'm a
my god,
daddy
you're
one.
Sagittarius.
Yeah.
My moon is Sagittarius.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Perfect. Was I about to say? also pre-show, we all, at least the stage left side, I'm pretty sure the stage right side does it as well. We always take 3 breaths before the show. We always get in a group circle. We take 3 breaths, like just to like let it all out before we do the show. Post show, me and Bryan do a warm down together. It's like a 5-7 minute warm down that we always do together. Most time after that, like then we'll just like individually just like warm down, cool down together. After that, I'll go home, I'll eat some food, I'll steam for at least 20 to 30 minutes. And then after I steam, it's no talking. So like even if I talk on the phone with a friend or like something like that, I'll do all that like before I steam. And then after that, once I steamed, it's quiet time. No more opening my mouth at all because I really want my cords to recover and I really want them to intake like the moisture that I just put on them. So most of the time I'll steam like around like, 12:31. If we get out of the show, at 11 something, then I'll eat, to maybe talk on the phone with a friend, steam, and then after that, I probably won't speak again until at least like 9 or 10 that morning.
I love your schedule. It's just
Yeah.
it folds out into my mind. I like so peaceful. I wish I was that disciplined.
Yeah. Oh,
That
it takes a lot. Like I said, on my previous tours, I've been in. I was a swing on the Rent tour, and then I was in the ensemble, and I was a Judas alternate on Jesus Christ Superstar. So I had like a little bit more leeway. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not like playing a lead every night. I have like a little bit more leeway. But with this show, and like that was one thing I really instilled in myself is I was like, I cannot go. I only drink once a week, and then most of the time, if I do drink, it's maybe like 1 or 2 drinks, and it's only if we don't have a show the next day. Most of the time, Mondays I'm pretty silent. Most of Mondays are travel days anyway, but most of the time on the bus I'm pretty silent. It does take a lot of discipline, but it's worth it. You know what I mean?
it's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. This was great. And
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to talk to you about your other projects. I'm so excited for what's to come to you.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so sweet. It's been a pleasure, truly.
Awesome. I will be following you on Instagram and staying in touch, but thank you so much.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Oh, no problem. You have a good one. Talk soon.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.